All righty, week 11 of PFR Scoreboard tonight. Scores and highlights, a sectional semifinal. High school football in the cold, Wayne.
In the cold, yes. And some people played cold tonight.
Wasn't it like 75 last week?
Yes, it was. You're right.
All right, we'll have scores, all the scores, and the highlights coming up next on PFR Scoreboard.
Program support comes from NIPSCO.
Honey, who is this guy?
Oh, that's Frank. Hey, Frank.
Honey, why is Frank in our bedroom?
He's showing us ways to save money. Plus, he'll even help us install LED bulbs and new shower heads.
Oh, well, he is leaving before I shower, though, right?
To schedule an energy assessment and learn more about energy usage, visit nipsco.com.
Frank, could you hand me a towel?
All righty, week 11 PFR Scoreboard on Lakeshore PBS. As we're ready to go tonight, we start with Michigan City at Munster, and Munster's defense has been solid. Throughout the season, they've had their moments. Very good in games against Hobart and others, and they were pretty good tonight. They kept their ball club in it tonight.
Okay, you're talking about Michigan City, right?
No,
Nope,
Munster.
Munster. I'm saying, well, Munster had a whole bunch of
Try to
emotional
follow
baggage.
along, right?
Yeah, I'm trying. You do 4 hours of radio, see how you feel.
Not
complaining.
That's a good point.
But Munster had a whole lot of emotional baggage to carry today.
Right.
You have to give kudos to that defense because they held in there against a very good Michigan City offense.
I think so. I mean, they kept them in the ball game. They've had their moments this year, their defense, and their defense was very solid tonight. Had them a 14-7 in the game late, and then 21-14, I think, late in the game. So let's check out some of the highlights. The Mustangs taking on a heavily favored Michigan City ball club tonight, Class 5A. These teams having the night off, and I think this was a good performance by Munster, and probably one that Michigan City's coaches are not thrilled with.
Oh yeah, the situations that happened with Michigan City here, the personal fouls and stuff like that, they got to get that taken care of before they hit Lowell next week.
They will not be, or before they hit LaPorte. They won't be able to make mistakes next week.
But he had 4 hours radio too. So
But you're right. McAuliffe played well for Michigan City, but if they keep making the mistakes and getting the personal fouls and stuff, LaPorte is going to open it up.
Munster's offense has been the thing that's been a little inconsistent from time to time, but they've got I think they got some young players on offense, and they've been getting better as the year's gone on. But kind of an impressive performance by Munster tonight, and maybe not what Michigan City wanted, and they don't have much time to get ready for their arch rival next week.
And it makes me wonder, but I don't want to take anything away from Munster. God bless them, they went out there and played hard. But was Michigan City looking ahead? Because if you recall, LaPorte and Michigan City put on a great show. It didn't end too well for Michigan City, though.
Well, I think the week off hurts some teams, and it probably helps some teams. Right. And it might have hurt Michigan City, maybe lost some momentum, and it might have helped a team like Munster. Maybe helped a team a little bit like Maryville, who seemed to play a little better tonight.
Yeah. Point well taken.
Lake Central got off to a good start tonight before Maceo got it going. But I think the week off affects these 5A and 6A teams differently, depending upon health and things like that.
Would you want a week off if you were a football coach in 5A or 6A?
I think it would depend. If you're if you've got great momentum, you would say no.
Yeah.
If you've got guys that are ouchy, you'd say yeah.
Ouchie?
Yeah. Ouchie.
Did you do 4 hours of radio too?
No. That's one of those sports slang terms.
Oh, we got to use that next week.
Yeah. That's okay.
Feel free. Hey,
Work with it.
Let me write that down.
Yeah, you guys, feel free to take notes, you guys.
There you go.
28-14, Michigan City. They are hosting LaPorte next Friday night. So City on their home field against their arch rival, who has beat them in a couple heartbreakers
Yes.
the last 2 years.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
Let's go to Portage. LC in to take on Portage, and Lake Central actually got off to a good start and took the lead early in this game tonight.
Yeah, Lake Central, good start, but unfortunately the other Indians have this guy named Maceo,
Yeah.
who, from what I've been told, is pretty darn good.
Yeah.
He's had a pretty solid year.
Yeah, no doubt.
The controversy on social media, I think, continues to be who the player of the year is.
Yeah,
There's
well,
controversy?
There is.
Not after tonight, there isn't.
I-
Maceo had one heck of a night tonight.
Yeah, I think so. Let's check out some of the highlights. Portage and LC, and I really think Maceo just adding to his all-around game. He threw touchdowns again tonight.
Right.
To Sanchez, to Millage. I mean, this is a guy who really could not throw the ball very well at all.
Right. You're right. And he's Millage. He's got an excellent receiver that really has speed. Sanchez is the same way.
And we saw last year the defense would force him to throw the ball.
Right.
Yeah.
The way they play him this year is they just try to contain his run.
Right.
And try to cut off the rest of the field from him.
yeah, but at the beginning of the season, it worked to a point.
Right,
And
they
then
worked.
he had that big game with Millage. It was Millage, the wide receiver, that helped break that thing.
Mm-hmm.
For Maceo, Millage became a go-to receiver. Everybody else started joining in. Voila, Portage in the
Yeah.
sectional final.
Yeah. And I would say favored. Next Friday night when they host Crown Point. They beat Crown Point earlier this year. They've got to feel good about being home with them again. Their offense is dynamic. I would think Portage would be the favorite next week.
I would think so too. And plus, we're not sure, but Tyler Gomez did not play the last few minutes.
I heard your guy Ramsey break that news.
Yeah.
Yeah. An ouchie, unfortunately.
Yeah, he was. Ramsey was telling us definitely, that Gomez did not come back. Maybe they held him out at the end of the game.
I hope that's it.
But Ramsey's excited he was back next week as well.
Ramsey about to say, I don't know how many people live in Crown Point, but yeah.
Big turnover there on the goal line, or Portage would have scored some more points. Zach Bundalo with the deep throw and a nice catch. Beautiful sliding catch. Couldn't keep his feet though.
And how gutsy was that to make that kind of a pass
Yeah.
in your end zone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bandello comes back next year. He's only a junior, and
He visited Ball State last week too.
Yeah.
Recruiting wise.
I think Lake Central has some young players. They got healthy. There were Joe Williams, the halfback came back, and so.
Yeah, Williams came back, which helped them tonight. But really, they could never, defensively solve their
Defense,
issues.
right?
This year.
Yeah, they've had the whole season. They've had a defensive problem.
34-14, Portage big. They will play Crown Point. Portage will host them next Friday night because the Bulldogs won tonight. Let's go out to Griffith. This one looked like the Panthers were going to get up early and win going away, but the Governors have been a little disrespected all year long.
Yes,
I
kudos to
think.
Coach Kinsey. He's done a great job this
And
year.
they fought their way back tonight.
They really did.
Yeah.
They did.
Let's check out some of the action. Griffith, we talked about Walker, we thought was hurt last week, although we haven't seen it anywhere. I didn't see anybody talking about it tonight on Twitter as well, but I did not hear Walker's number called. We saw Gaddafi Coleman go back in on offense, which when Walker's healthy, he just usually plays defense.
Right.
Well, yeah, I
right.
think that Gaddafi was pretty healthy tonight. He had himself
Yeah.
a pretty good night.
But
for
he
the
usually doesn't go both ways
Right.
full time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Freddie Winston, who picked up the slack tonight, was outstanding. Morton's defense gave up a couple touchdowns early, and then fought their way back into this ball game.
Yeah. Well,
It was 21-28 at one point.
Yeah, right.
exactly.
Well, they tied it at 21.
Yes.
And then Griffith had to score late to take the lead. Prather boys for Morton had a big night.
Oh,
A beautiful
yes.
throw there.
Yeah.
He is really underrated as a thrower. He has shown that he can, throw the football. That was
Yeah,
a beautiful
Winston
slant.
and Maceo, I mean, it's like, have we seen them in the same place at the same time?
One's played in the Doolin and the other's not.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, one's statistics look legitimate, and you don't know about the other ones. We'll find out next week. But I mean, he's shown at times that he's very talented. I would just love to have seen him play a more difficult schedule. There's a nice sack by the Morton defense.
Well, they got difficult today, no doubt about
I
it.
think they did. This was an excellent tune-up for them.
Yeah.
Really, when you think about it, again, are they 100% healthy now? I don't think they are. If Walker's not 100%, kudos to Morton. This was a big bounce-back year for Morton because they kind of maybe took a step back last year.
That's right.
But they took another step up this year, winning a conference title and being very competitive.
I agree. And, you were talking about, we don't know about Walker, but they got a kid named, Ernest Johnson, who
Right.
has just been outstanding at times, but he gets, he hides behind these other stars.
Yeah, and Cole Cervantes made a big catch
yes.
tonight. But, Lowell's going to, I tell you, Lowell's going to make him throw a ball.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, if they're going to be moving the chains, they're going to be having to have both things working. They can't become one-dimensional next week and win the game.
Okay, well, here's the deal, though. How many teams have Lowell played that had multi-offensive weapons?
Portage.
Portage?
Yeah.
No. Back then, it was Steele, the quarterback. He was the guy. We hadn't thought about Millage at that time. It was Steele, the quarterback, Maceo, that was running that offense, and he was the main guy. Griffith has four
You're
guys.
still dogging out the Lowell defense, right?
Oh, no. I'm not bitter. I'm not dogging out the Lowell defense. I'm just asking a question.
But I'll tell you what, Lowell has one thing. Where they have Jusevich and they have Gill at the defensive corners, so they could take a lot of that speed that Griffith has away.
Well, I mean, Lowell just hasn't given up much to anybody.
Right.
They
6
didn't give up much to
points.
Maceo.
They average 6 points, giving up 6 points a game. That's it.
And their offense seems to be moving the football better, running
Yes.
the ball better, getting more folks involved.
I think that's the important part of that matchup, the
yeah.
Griffith offense. I mean, I'm sorry, the
Lowell,
Lowell offense.
right.
They're going to have to put some points on the board against
Right,
Griffith.
I think so. And if
Yeah.
whoever, as we saw tonight in a lot of these games, turnovers are very magnified
Yes.
the later you get in the season. We saw Valpo move the ball tonight, turned it over twice. Really killed him. Penn didn't have any turnovers. So we see Maryville turned it over once they got close. That gave Crown Point the touchdown to put them ahead for the victory.
Yeah, but these are the playoffs. This is the ultimate tough schedule. You
Right.
turn the ball over too many times,
right. Or you get
Play
that's right.
basketball.
Or it's wrestling season too. But
Yeah, there you
or
go.
you get down there and you don't score.
Yeah.
That is definitely a huge factor. If you get close, if you get Valpo did a great job getting yards tonight. They couldn't get points, so
Yeah.
that was the difference. All right, let's go to the scoreboard, shall we? All the finals are in. We have all the scores from across Northwest Indiana. Maryville did come back, led it to 17-14, had the big interception. Crown Point scored a touchdown. Bulldogs look to avenge the early season loss. They play at Portage for the sectional championship next week. Chesterton got off to a 16-2 start. Then they had turnovers.
Right.
And Warsaw came back to win at home 26-16. That was a wacky game in South Bend. LaPorte was up big early, then South Bend Adams made it close. LaPorte didn't throw the ball, they just ran it. They had a few turnovers, I think. But LaPorte at Michigan City next Friday.
Isaac Alexander had a great night for LaPorte. I think he scored 3 touchdowns. And then Drayson Nespo had the other.
I will say this. I think the fact that Michigan City played that offense a couple weeks ago has to help them for preparation. But they just didn't get a lot of momentum out of their game offensively tonight.
Yeah.
And their penalties. That's what was so. They need to fix that because LaPorte will take advantage of them.
They will, no doubt. 40-19 LaPorte. Lowell shuts out Highland Tommy. It was a shutout there. You see the
I
zero.
noticed that there's a zero there.
Elsewhere on the scoreboard tonight, the Prairie, 42-21, another impressive win for New Prairie. New Prairie the favorite, I think, in 4A.
Right.
Up in the northern half of the state right now. So it won't get easy for the Griffith Lowell winner, no matter what. Andrean might want to save some of them points for next week. Big offensive performance. They've got momentum, and they're going to need all that mojo going to West Lafayette. West Lafayette has been tremendous this year. Mishawaka Marion kind of went down to Knox and got the upset victory, 17-13 over the Redskins. And Rensselaer, none of one of those teams, they had the lead early. They were down there, had to settle for a field goal, didn't score on another possession, and then Eastbrook came back and took a 21-3 win. Elsewhere on the board, North Newton 36-6 over Lake Station. Lake Station took the lead in that game. And Boone Grove 47-20 over Roosevelt. It was Brayton Van of the Van boys, right?
Yeah. Right.
He was
Brayton
the star. 4 TDs,
Right.
had a pick.
And an interception,
Yeah.
that's right. Actually, I think he had 5 TDs and he had
I lost track.
213
Yards.
on the ground. So he was outstanding for Boone Grove. And, it was a situation where you had two, totally different styles of play. Boone Grove was smash mouth. Roosevelt had the athleticism. And Boone Grove just ate up the clock, just running it down the field.
And the Boone Grove offensive line deserves credit because if you have a kid scoring 5 touchdowns in one game, that line dominated, no doubt about it.
Triton over Winnemac, and LaVille beats Culver. So it looks like North Newton at Boone Grove, at Valpo High School, you would think, next Friday night. Boone Grove, I think, looking for their first sectional championship ever.
That's
of their
right.
football program that's not been going for very long. So that'll be a big, big win in that. Probably got to be favored over North Newton.
I would think so.
Slightly
Yes.
next Friday night. All right, time now for our game of the night. Let's check out some of the highlights. We'll do that after this timeout on PFR Scoreboard.
For more information on everything prep football, visit us on Facebook or on Twitter at PFR Sports.
All right, we're back on week 11 of PFR Scoreboard sectional semifinal week, and our game of the night was Penn in Valpo to take on the Vikings. Valpo, the outright DAC champs, beat Penn earlier this year, only lost 1 game this whole season. But obviously against a Penn team that's used to winning in the postseason and that has only lost the 1 game to Valpo. So let's check out some of these highlights. Penn got off to a fast start, got the lead, and I know you guys talked to Reed tonight, and LeFew really threw the ball well. And their offense between the 20s was moving the football very well. They just could not get points on the board. Penn doing the bend but not break defense tonight.
Yeah, I mean, Dr. Reed Amons was saying on our show that they had 3 opportunities to score some points.
And the big factor tonight was that Mike Scarcella,
Yes.
who had such a huge game earlier this year against Penn, of course, caught the game-winning touchdown against Michigan City. He was out tonight.
Right.
So he was hurt. Their 6'2", 6'3" safety not being on the field, not having him as an option on offense to throw the ball up to, I'm sure that was a factor this evening.
Oh, no doubt about it, but there's only so much adversity a team can take.
Yeah.
I mean, Valpo's had injuries. Need we say what happened this past week? Let's face it, these are high school kids. There's eventually a time that you're going to break, especially if Penn is next on your schedule.
Yeah, and I think the 2 turnovers were key tonight against the Vikings, because those are really, going into a game against Penn that you got to be sound. You can't turn the football over. You have to take advantage of your opportunities. Their defense played well enough to win, obviously, but they just could not get points on the board. They had the drive It was either late third quarter, they got it down 1st and goal on the 1, and then could not get it in the end zone. Were stopped on 4th down.
Another factor Dr. Reed Amos had said was that this young quarterback for Penn, I think his name is Lynch, really played well tonight. He threw the ball well tonight, so that was also a factor.
And guys, let's think about this. Valpo's offense wasn't exactly a big point scorer this season.
No.
So they're going up against a Penn defense that's pretty darn good.
Right, and the hopes were getting their quarterback back would help ignite their offense a little bit. And they scored 14 points tonight, and that's what they're thinking they need. I mean, they'd have taken their chances before the game because they were going to score 14 points.
Yeah.
But with our defense, we'll take those chances. But they just, they had some opportunities. They just couldn't get it in the end zone.
Yeah. Well, LeFew, as we mentioned earlier, played well, threw the ball well, but he didn't have the mobility.
Yeah.
And I think Penn eventually picked that up, and I think that kind of affected the way Valpo's offense ran today.
Yeah. I think you saw a lot of quick routes right here in the highlights, trying to get rid of them. I think there was one of the turnovers there. And Penn did just enough offensively to keep the football, got some points, and ran the ball a little in order to keep their defense off the field. So it's going to be Penn taking on Warsaw next week. There's the keys to the game, in my estimation, was they bent a little on defense, but they didn't break, and the turnovers. Valpo had 2 turnovers tonight, were huge, against the Kingsmen this evening. All right, so let's go through the scores one more time. We'll try to set the matchups again for you next Friday night. Maryville finishes the year 1-9.
I don't remember. It's been a long time since they ended up 1-9.
And we were talking them up. We were talking them up at the beginning of the season. I'm not sure what happened.
Yeah. I think a long time is putting it mildly.
Yes.
Yeah. So Crown Point at Portage. That'll be a little bit of a revenge matchup for the Bulldogs. Maceo and company, the Red Indians win at home tonight. They'll be home again next week against the Crown Point Bulldogs. They're looking for a sectional title. Crown Point was the sectional champ from a year ago. Warsaw at Penn next week for the sectional title. Valpo finishes the year at 8-2. Chesterton loses tonight at Warsaw. So Class 5A, LaPorte at Michigan City next week. The Slicers have beaten them twice the last 2 seasons. Will they beat them a 3rd time next week for a sectional title?
Hey, this is going to be a great game. You know that it's not going to be a 7-0 win here. Both defenses are able to give up points. We've seen that before.
Yeah.
It may be the last person who touches the ball.
Could be. That's kind of the way it was in their first meeting this year. All right. Elsewhere, Mr. Jusefich, I heard him on the radio. He reminded me that Lowell lost at Griffith last year in the regular season.
That's right.
Yeah. Something to think about going into next week. Revenge.
17-9.
Yeah.
Last year, Griffith beat Lowell. So Griffith will be at Lowell down on Route 2 next Friday night for a sectional title. And the Prairie, a heavy favorite, they will be taking on South Bend St. Joe.
Yes.
Won again tonight.
They did?
Yes.
Oh, gosh.
Didn't we talk about that last week?
I think you picked them, yes. It was at
They
Rich
play a
Park.
little possum as the season goes on.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, St. Joe is in the sectional championship. They might not have played enough possum, though, next Friday. And Drain at West Lafayette, they're in a real tough matchup. It'll be Mishawaka Marion moving on. North Newton at Boone Grove. So the Wolves will be looking for their first ever sectional championship in football. North Newton, don't go to sleep on them. They knocked off Whiting last week, and they'll be taking on Boone Grove next Friday night. Rensselaer, they are out tonight, 21-3. Eastbrook comes back from a trailing 3-0. We talked about Boone Grove hosting next week against North Newton. And in 1A, we're done for local teams.
Yeah.
With Triton winning tonight, they'll be taking on LaVille. All right, 2 huge matchups next week. Griffith and Lowell, and Michigan City and LaPorte. Really, when you look at it, 2 huge matchups. Yeah, Boone Grove and North Newton, but we've been looking for the Griffith-Lowell game all year.
I'm looking forward to his predictions. And how many check marks are going to be on those predictions next week?
I'm looking forward to see if there are any Boone Grove T-shirts coming into the radio over there. For one certain person.
Without the rubbing.
Or some Lowell defensive T-shirts.
Yeah.
There you go. I just sew them together.
With somebody take the fence out of their picket fence out of their front yard for Lowell, down in Lowell, and bring it to Tommy. All right. Okay, we'll have another edition of PFR on Thursday night. We'll see you Thursday. Good night.
Program support comes from NIPSCO.
Honey, who is this guy?
Oh, that's Frank. Hey, Frank.
Honey, why is Frank in our bedroom?
He's showing us ways to save money. Plus, he'll even help us install LED bulbs and new shower heads.
Oh, well, he is leaving before I shower, though, right?
To schedule an energy assessment and learn more about energy usage, visit NIPSCO.com.
Frank, could you hand me a towel?